Hello, everyone, and welcome back to my channel. If you're new here, my name is Amy, and I am on a financial freedom journey with my family. I share all about that and more on my channel. And today we're back with another budget review. Today's budget review is for Kenya. She is 33 and she lives in Arkansas. All right, so let's go ahead and go through what Kenya had submitted. So she is a bookkeeper. She's also recently married. So she does have a husband and she also has four sons. I believe two of them are hers and two of them are stepsons. So she does have a blended family. And another thing is that her and her husband do not combine finances. So they do finances separately. And we'll talk a little bit more about that when we go through the budget as well and how that plays into the budget. She currently makes about $39,000 at her full time job. Her short term financial goals and priorities are to build a buffer and a cushion. From what it sounds like in her budget review intake form, they are very, very tight with their finances, which I can see from their budget as well. So she wants to build a buffer and also build up some savings. She does have a significant amount of debt, so I did not actually list it really here. I will go through it in the debt snowball tracker in a minute, but she does have 11 student loans, 4 credit cards, 5 personal loans, and a car loan. And as far as investments, she is currently investing in her 401k. She has almost $15,000 in her 401k, and she does not currently have any money in savings. Her biggest financial struggle is no breathing room in her budget and just feeling like generally tight in her budget. And her long-term financial goals are to clear out her credit card and personal loans and then also build up that buffer and some savings. So let's go ahead and go through Kenya's debt snowball plan and we can talk further about that. All right, so these are all the debts as Kenya had submitted them. I did go ahead and put them in the snowball order just because there's so many of them and a lot of them are like relatively small. So I think in this case, it really just makes sense to do the snowball. The only exception is the student loans. So she does technically have 11 student loans. So number 13 is actually 11 different loans that total up to 34,500. I put that at the end. I'm going to go ahead and guess that they're in forbearance. She didn't explicitly say that, but she did say she's not currently paying towards them. So I'm assuming they are in some sort of forbearance right now. So honestly, with everything else going on, I would just leave these to the end and tackle these kind of separately from everything else. So I'm not going to go through them like one by one necessarily, but there are a decent amount of credit cards. So she has 4 credit cards, 5 personal loans, 11 student loans, and a car loan. So there's quite a bit to get through here. And a lot of the credit cards are very high interest rates. The other thing is that some of these personal loans she's actually not currently paying on. So I'm not sure what the situation is exactly. She didn't specify why she's not paying on these right now, but they are, I'm assuming, still accruing interest. So definitely want to tackle these as quickly as we can. But first order of business, in my opinion, is the $0 in savings, especially having children. I think this is a great plan for the debt once we tackle getting at least 1 month of emergency savings in the bank. So this is how I would personally tackle the loans. Again, doing the snowball method. She did have one, I believe this is a personal loan. It's $340 a month, but she did not specify what the starting balance is. So Kenya, if you are watching, which I hope you are, I would definitely redo this list with the accurate balances and also add in this balance here. And again, I would just tackle them in the snowball order. It ends up being roughly similar with the interest rates. I mean, we're starting off with a pretty high one and then tackling some of these lower ones, but just even in the minimum payments, like the faster you can get the amount of the number of the debt down, like the physical number of the accounts down, it'll definitely help with feeling like you don't have breathing room. So that is my plan for you. But again, priority for me would be building up some sort of emergency savings first. So in order to do that, let's go ahead and go through your budget together. All right, so here is the budget that I have created for Kenya. Now, again, I did put this post-it note on here, so I didn't forget to mention her and her husband do not combine finances. Her husband pays for the mortgage, their phone bills, the internet, gym, and all of their subscriptions. So keep that in mind as we're going through this budget that you will not see those in here. And also the budget that I received, I did have to edit a little bit. So let's go ahead and talk through that, and I'll talk through how I edited it or what I did during the walkthrough. So Kenya did report that she has about $2,700 a month. This is after taxes, insurance, all of that. And she also does contribute to her 401k right now. So 2717 is what we're working with for the monthly budget. Now, something that she did not put in her budget that she reported to me is her debt minimums. Now, this is going to be really important because we want to make sure we're at least staying on top of the minimum payments. So, based on this, I calculated the minimum monthly payments. Now, again, this is not including the ones that are not being paid on right now. So, there's quite a few that are not currently being paid on. So this is just the minimum payments that she reported that are currently things that she's paying on. So she's got over $1,000 in debt minimum payments, which is a very large chunk of her income. So definitely makes sense why she's reporting feeling very tight in the budget, because it is very tight, just frankly. So $1,071 in debt minimums. Then she's got car insurance for $110. That seems pretty reasonable. Electric for their home at $100. She does have 4 life insurance policies for $179. I would be interested in learning more about this, Kenya, because I feel like that's kind of high, but also I'm wondering who the 4 people you have the life insurance on are. I'm guessing it's you and your husband, and then I'm not sure if it's kids or who else is involved, but I would definitely consider looking into other policies. Now, I do feel like life insurance is important, but you may be able to get a better deal even like through potentially through your employers, you and your husband possibly. So definitely something to look into and see, because 179 does seem pretty high, especially when your budget is super tight. So that's definitely something that I would look into further in your budget. Haircuts, she does have 4 sons and her husband that are all getting haircuts, and that was at 180. I'm going to star this one. Don't be mad at me. I know it's not fun, but I think you maybe could cut this down, even if it's like maybe stretching out when you get the haircuts or something of the sort. Maybe like rotating, getting your hair cut professionally and maybe trying to do it yourself. Now, this is not a must. I'm not telling you that you have to do this, but I think it would definitely help with your breathing room a little bit, or anything that you can do to maybe cut this down even just slightly would be helpful. So 180 for haircuts. Then she has $300 a month for after school. This is going to be starting in September. So I just did add that in here for her kids that are in school. She does carry some legal coverage for her husband. She does say this is because of his line of work. So I'm not 100% sure what he does for work. I'm assuming it maybe is some sort of like business owner or something where he needs to have some special insurance coverages for $32. She does pay $15 a month. That is for her mother's internet. So that's great. And then $80 for her gas, which is like the utility gas, not car gas. So really, I don't see a ton of opportunity here to cut these back. Again, besides like maybe the life insurance and the haircuts, you could even maybe try to shop around for the car insurance, although 110 doesn't seem too unreasonable, especially if it's for you and your husband. So just something to consider, but definitely important to look into these and consider making cuts where you can. I know it's painful. I know it's not fun, but it'll just be temporary while we can kind of get some of this debt cleaned up and get some savings. So total fixed expenses are $2,067. And again, when you compare that to her total income, that is a vast majority of the income, and that leaves her remaining at $650. Now, another thing that we did not include in the budget, she did have $80 for car gas, but she didn't have numbers for any of these other categories. She did list them out, but with question marks. So I went ahead and filled in some numbers from what I think is reasonable. These are pretty low, but honestly, in order to make the budget work, I kind of had to go a little bit lower. So I did, again, the $80 for gas was something that she had reported. I went ahead and put $300 for groceries. Now, again, I'm assuming that maybe her and her husband split this. So $300 would not be enough, obviously, for a family of 6, like if she's covering groceries entirely, but I'm hopeful that maybe her and her husband would be splitting that. So I put $300, but again, make sure like you're pulling bank statements, see what you're actually spending on food, because I think it's more important for you to make that determination than me. But for now, I just put $300 in here, $50 for eating out. Now that's not going to get you far, especially with a larger family, but that might be enough to maybe do one eat out per month. Kids, 50, I just did 50 there, and then 50 for miscellaneous. And that leaves your total variable expenses at 530. Now, again, that's really tight. So I understand that's probably not realistic, but we have to do what we have to do with the budget. And in order to have any money left over, it has to be that tight right now. So total remaining is 120. Now, what I would do with the 120 is put it into your emergency fund. I would like to see you build up a month of emergency fund. So probably roughly like $2,500, maybe 2,000 you could get away with, but I would want you to have some sort of savings before you tackle the debt. I think it's really important to have something in savings just because it'll help protect you if something happens or if you lose your job or anything like that while you're trying to get out of debt. But yeah, 120, it's going to take you a while to get there. But another thing I wanted to mention in this budget review is this is a case where I would recommend picking up like a side job or even something temporary part-time if that's possible. I know it's really difficult, especially with kids, but I think it's worthwhile to look into even something super part-time or trying to earn money in other ways. If you've been on my channel for a while, you probably remember when we were in debt and I was doing Instacart. Instacart is a really good way to make a little bit of extra money and it's basically no commitment. So like you don't have to be put on a schedule. You can kind of just go do it. And I would do that on the weekends, most weekends. I know a lot of you guys have been here for quite some time and probably remember me doing that. It wasn't super fun. It sucked, but it really helped us get out of debt quickly. And I think that that is something you should definitely consider, either doing Instacart, Uber Eats, anything like that, where it's like a side hustle. You could deliver groceries through like grocery stores. You could deliver pizzas. You could do a ton of different things. There's a lot of jobs like that that are pretty like low commitment that you could just pick up a few extra hours here and there. You could do Amazon delivery. Those are great ones too. There's a lot of different options, but I think that really it's important in this budget specifically to bring in some extra income, because if you want to be credit card debt free and you want to pay these things off, something has to give, and there's not a ton of give in the budget right now. So I think it's really important to find ways to bring in extra income. Even if you could bring in an extra, let's say $500 a month, that would be, grinding pretty hard on some sort of side hustle, but $500 a month, you would be able to build up your emergency fund in just a few months. And then you could pretty much automatically knock out your first two debts the first month that you're paying off debt. So it can go quickly if you are willing to make the sacrifices to do so, or even if your husband would be willing to help as well. Maybe you could both pick up some little side hustles or something. It's really a team effort. And I think that it's important in this case, especially, to have to make sacrifices. That's the thing with paying off debt, is that there are sacrifices that you have to make. They're not fun, but they are temporary. And that's the best part. So that is all I have for this budget intake. I hope you guys enjoyed. If you have any advice or tips for Kenya, please leave those in the comments down below. I always learn so much from you guys, and it's always so helpful to see you guys in the comments interacting and giving advice. It's really what makes this community so amazing, this debt-free community that we've built here. So definitely give some advice in the comments down below. Thank you so much, Kenya, for submitting your budget intake. I really enjoyed reviewing it, and I wish you so much the best. I'm so hopeful that you'll be able to get out of debt and really turn this around. I believe in you. I think that you can do it. And please report back to me soon with how it's going. And if you would like to get your own budget review, I will leave the link down in the bio and the pinned comment, and you can get a budget review. It is completely free. And yeah, that's all I have for this video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Again, leave some comments down below of what you would do in this situation, or if you have any advice that's differing from mine. I would love to read it down below, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye, everyone.